Well, hello, everybody. Good evening. And how are you this evening? Good, I hope. Welcome to the Minutes with Milo show. What is this? Like show 116? Something like that? So, Roberto. Hello, Robert. So, tonight's show is going to be, I would say shocking, but it's not going to be shocking. It's going to be explosive. So, just some preamble stuff. YouTube, Minutes with Milo, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments, and watch the live show. If you don't watch the live show, then watch it on the video section. If you don't watch it on the video section, podcasts are available on Spotify and now on Amazon. Believe it or not, I got an account with Amazon. Put it out there. The only thing is about Amazon, I think on Spotify you can watch the podcast as a video like you'd see it on YouTube. But on Amazon, I think the only thing you get is the audio. I don't think you can get the video. But anyway, if it's not important if you see my lovely face, then do what I do. If I listen on Spotify, just, hey Cleo, I just turn the, I don't know, hit the phone, it goes into dark mode, but it still plays the audio. It doesn't play the video. Because most times I listen to podcasts when I'm doing other things. I'm not tired of music, but I listen to a lot of music. And when I find podcasts, sometimes I'll search around for ones that I find interesting. Or Spotify has some audiobooks. I listen to some audiobooks. But tonight's show is kind of going over something that happened a little over 50 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been 50 years. But I heard about this off a radio show, and that was the day that it was its anniversary. And I thought, that would probably make just a pretty good, short show on what happened in Florence, Oregon in 1970. It's true, and I said last week on the show at the very end, kind of alluding to what I was going to talk about, that it could only happen in the 70s. And that's true to a point. And the reason I said that is because this is the first time I am seeing this video. And they redid the actual news footage from 1970 about this story. And so I haven't seen it, but I heard parts of it on this radio show. And they used a considerable amount of dynamite within a close proximity of people. And they were all just sitting around on the beach. This was on the beach, seashore. All just sitting around watching it, from what I could tell on the audio. But like I said, I haven't seen the video. So maybe they were way down the beach. Have no idea. So I'm going to play it's 3 minutes and 24 seconds. They have remastered. How do they talk? What do they say they did this? I guess remastered, recorded it, went over it, touched it up, whatever. From the news, KATU News, And like I said, Florence, Oregon, back in 1970. So if you can't hear it, let me know quick, because like I said, it's only 3 minutes and 24 seconds. What they have here on YouTube. Maybe there's a longer version out there. I don't know. But I haven't told you exactly what it is, but Beach, 1970, Dynamite, you'll see. You can't miss it. We'll watch the video, okay? And so let me get it set up here. What I want to do is let's share that screen, and shrink me down. Got to find me a good. Is that it? That's it. Okay. Okay. Let's do that. That's the search screen. Let me see if I can get. No. Okay. Anyway. All right. Let's go. Turn on desktop audio. And all right, let's just go over here. All righty. So here we go.
It had to be said, the Oregon State Highway Division not only had a problem on its hands, it had a stinking whale of a problem.
Let me start that back.
The Oregon State Highway Division not only had a whale of a problem on its hands, it had a stinking whale of a problem. What to do with one 45-foot, 8-ton whale dead on arrival on the beach near Florence. It had been so long since a whale had washed up in Lane County, nobody could remember how to get rid of one. In selecting its battle plan, the Highway Division decided the carcass couldn't be buried because it might soon be uncovered. It couldn't be cut up and then buried because nobody wanted to cut it up, and it couldn't be burned. So dynamite it was, some 20 cases or a half-ton of it. The hope was that the long-dead Pacific gray whale would be almost disintegrated by the blast, and that any small pieces still around after the explosion would be taken care of by seagulls and other scavengers. Indeed, the seagulls had been standing nearby all day. As everything was being made ready, we asked George Thornton, the highway engineer in charge of the project, for his final observation.
Well, I'm confident that it'll work. The only thing is we're not sure just exactly how much explosives it'll take to disintegrate this thing, so the scavengers, seagulls and crabs and whatnot can clean it up.
Is there any chance it might be more than a one-day job?
If there's any large chunks left, and we may have to do some other cleanup, possibly set another charge.
The dynamite was buried primarily on the leeward side of the big mammal, so as most of the remains would be blown toward the sea. About 75 bystanders, most of them residents who had first found the whale to be an object of curiosity before they tired of its smell, were moved back a quarter of a mile away. The sand dunes there were covered with spectators and landlubber newsmen, shortly to become land blubber newsmen, for the blast blasted blubber beyond all believable bounds.
Did you get a wild?
All right, Fred, you can take your hands out of your ears. Here comes pieces of...
Our cameras stopped rolling immediately after the blast. The humor of the entire situation suddenly gave way to a run for survival as huge chunks of whale blubber fell everywhere. Pieces of meat passed high over our heads while others were falling at our feet. The dunes were rapidly evacuated as spectators escaped both the falling debris and the overwhelming smell. A parked car over a quarter of a mile from the blast site was the target of one large chunk. The passenger compartment literally smashed. Fortunately, no human was hit as badly as the car. However, everyone on the scene was covered with small particles of dead whale. As for the success of the effort, Well, the seagulls who were supposed to clean things up were nowhere in sight, either scared away by the explosion or kept away by the smell. That didn't really matter. The remaining chunks were of such a size that no respectable seagull would attempt to tackle anyway. As darkness began to set in, the highway crews were back on the beach burying the remains, including a large piece of the carcass which never left the blast site. It might be concluded that should a whale ever wash ashore in Lane County again, those in charge will not only remember what to do, they'll certainly remember what not to do.
Uh, okay.
The highest
Stop it.
art is
Stop that. I told you to stop that. Right here. Take this. There. What do you think about them apples? Oh my gosh. So I did a little research, and I did a search of how much dynamite did they use to blow up the whale. They used 1/2 short ton, or 450 kilograms, and that is 992 pounds. 992 pounds of dynamite they buried in, around that whale and blew it up. Oh my gosh. So it really happened. It happened in the 70s. And that's why I said they only moved those, well, they moved them back, and I'm really surprised they moved them back that far, 1/4 of a mile. And like most every people, I think of things in something I know about. So I know about drag strips. So from the starting line to the end, as far as the ways they moved them, and yet pieces of whale rained down on them from that far away. Oh yeah, that was a 4-door Cadillac that looked like that whale blubber piece rained down on and just caved it in. I mean, caved it in. Could you imagine? Do you think in 1970 did the guy have insurance that covered a total Cadillac from raining whale? I guess it would be, well, I guess it would burn. But part of the reason I'm sure they didn't try to burn it was because of the stench. And that's what they were, I'd hate to say, that's what they were shooting for. That's what they were blasting for. In one of the articles, yeah, I mean, like, I guess, and then some of it wouldn't burn because it was starting to decay. So it's putrefying, it's liquefying, and that would assist it in burning in certain ways. But then in other ways, you know, it might be too gooey and wet, moist, or whatever to burn. I don't know. Be a good experiment. But they were hoping that it would blow it into probably dime-sized pieces. They were wanting the seagulls and the crabs and stuff like that to eat it. And I guess a lot of it they were trying to blow out into the ocean. So, in one of the articles I read, they looked at it like it was a rock. And if they were going to, and it was the highway department. So they were just, going to blast it like they would, the side of a hill, try to move a big boulder or something. And obviously it didn't work the way they were intending it to. I'm sure, since it was so soft and blubbery, a lot of the force just ripped holes in it instead of like a rock where it would transfer all that force throughout the whole thing evenly, potentially, and break it all up into pieces. I don't know, but yeah, you you couldn't even drive the car. I mean, the roof was crushed down. You couldn't even, get your pocketbook out. It was so squished. Can you imagine calling your agent and saying, hey Bob, you know what, man, I went out there to see that whale, and them damn fools, put all this dynamite around that, and well, my car got crushed. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Frank, but we don't cover flying whales. That's act of God stuff, and sorry, you're out of luck. I just couldn't imagine. But you see all them little kids running around? I couldn't imagine the stink. That one kid where he was looking at the Cadillac that was squished looked like he had his shirt or jacket pulled up over his nose to try to, block some of it out. And I noticed when they were talking about moving the people back, did you see the police officer? And I guess he was a mounted officer. Looked like he had a helmet on, and those riding breeches that they wore. I guess maybe they still do in some places. So let's see what Wikipedia says about it. Okay. So they say there's been several instances, and I'm sure that's true, because, whales are, for whatever reason, getting trapped on shore. And then once the water goes away, there's no way to get them out there. One of the things I wondered about would, why didn't they try to, it looked like it was pretty far from the water at the time. So I'm going to guess it was really at low tide. So why wouldn't they wait until high tide and see if they couldn't get a couple of tugboats in close to shore and, strap that thing some way and just pull it out and take it out into the ocean, just by pulling it out. But maybe it would have pulled it apart. I don't know how rotting it was. So it says the explosion threw whale flesh 800 feet away, and its odor lingered for some time. Can you imagine? Let's just think a chunk, the chunk the size of a hubcap going 800 feet, landing in the road, and then rotting. And there would be thousands of pieces like that, or smaller, or even bigger, just strung out everywhere, rotting. I mean, I just, November the 9th, 1970. I didn't know the exact day. So it was November the 9th is when it actually happened. And it was 45 feet long, sperm whale. It says washed ashore at Florence, at Central Oregon coast. The weight of the carcass was estimated at 8 short tons, or 16,000 pounds. Why do they call it short tons, I wonder? Be like pulling a large pile of warm lard. Good year for the bugs, yeah. They could have tied helium balloons to it and flew it out, right? So I wonder why they call it short ton. I mean, a ton's 2,000 pounds, and it says right there 8 short tons was 16,000 pounds. But now in the up it said they used a half a short ton. So technically that should be 1,000 pounds, but when I worked out the kilogram thing, it was 992 pounds, so 8 pounds short. I wonder if George Thornton got to keep his job after that, or maybe he was promoted. So it says, at the time, Oregon beaches were under the jurisdiction of the State Highway Division, which, after consulting with the U.S. Navy, decided to remove the whale by using dynamite, assuming that the resulting pieces would be small enough for scavenger animals to consume. And that's like, a dime size. If you're thinking seagulls are going to eat it, they're not eating quarter-pound hamburgers in a big gulp. So George Thornton, the engineer in charge of the operation, told an interviewer that he was not sure how much dynamite would be needed. Oh. A military veteran with explosives training who happened to be in the area warned that the planned 20 cases of dynamite was far too much and that 20 sticks, 8.4 pounds, would have sufficed, but his advice went unheeded. So I wonder why he would say that. What's Clails? Let's see. A ton, unit of weight in the something system, equates to 2,000 pounds in the United States. The short ton and 2240 pounds in Britain. So because we only do 2,000 pounds instead of the 2240 pounds in England, they call ours a short ton. Okay. Short ton is American, long is metric. Huh. Well, metric is usually even, so 1,016.05 kilograms. Seems like in the metric, why don't they just say 1,000 kilograms is a ton? I don't know. That's kind of weird, but I'll accept your Google search as being authentic. So I wonder why the Navy, the arms veteran. See, was he said what he was a veteran? A military veteran, didn't say which branch, with explosives training. The thing was 45 feet long. Do you think he was like going to put a stick of dynamite like every 2 feet or so? Because he said 20 sticks. So I guess the question is, did they use too much? And therefore it overpowered the carcass? Or did they use too little because it didn't blow it all to smithereens? I don't know. Maybe they didn't place it correctly. They say you can do lots of things with, shaped charges, which directs the majority of the blast in one direction. So maybe they should have put, it showed them digging kind of holes for it. And it looked like it blew it straight up. Of course, I guess it's really hard to blow it out towards the ocean without building. Maybe they should have dug a big berm and then placed all the dynamite cases against the berm so that the explosion would have gone out towards the ocean instead of just looked like it just blew it up. I don't know. The dynamite was detonated on November 12th. Okay. At 3:45 p.m. So it washed up on shore on the 9th of November, and they blew it up on the 12th. The resulting explosion was caught on film by cameraman Doug Brazel for a story reported by news reporter Paul Lindman of KATU TV in Portland, Oregon. In his voiceover, Lindman joked that landlubber newsman became the landlubber newsman. The explosion caused large pieces of blubber to land near the buildings and parking lot some distance away from the beach. Only some of the whale was disintegrated. Most of it remained on the beach for the Oregon Highway Division workers to clear away. In his report, Lemon also noted that the scavenger's bird, who had been hoped would eat the remains of the carcass after the explosion, did not appear, as they were possibly scared away by the noise. The explosives expert veteran's brand new automobile purchased during a get a well of a deal promotion in a nearby city was flattened by a chunk of falling blubber. So, am I reading that right? In that little sentence right here, can you see this on the screen? The explosive expert, the veteran. So the veteran they talked about earlier said that 20 sticks would have been sufficient. It was his brand new car. Was it a brand new Cadillac that he purchased during a get a well of a deal promotion in a nearby city? Was flattened by a chunk of falling blubber. Well, now, see, this has got me all wondering about that dude's car. I bet you I can't get that same video. Alright, so let's see. Let's see if we can find this thing. Alright, so right here. Uh-oh. So do you think this guy was the military veteran with explosives experience that they're talking about over there? Huh. Well, I think it was Clell. If you can put those two stories together, that so there's the caddy. See the four-door Cadillac. I mean, it looks like a Cadillac. Does that not look like a Cadillac? You see it back in here. And that looks like a Cadillac, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know what else would have that look to it. Let's see. Well, here we go. So let's see. Where is that one? His had a black, looks like a black vinyl top on it. And that's a little brighter color without the vinyl top. Huh. Where's my images? Look up at the images. That's one that's kind of, it's not the same color, but it's kind of at the same angle. I mean, it's really hard to say because that's so blurry, but I swear the wheel skirts, this one's got the top, 4 doors. I'd say it was that Cadillac. So the explosives expert veteran's brand new automobile was flattened by a chunk of blubber. So I'm going to guess later that day, Thornton, he was the engineer, told the Eugene Register Guard, "I went just exactly right, except the blast funneled a hole in the sand under the whale, and that some of the whale chunks were subsequently blown back toward the onlookers and their cars." Thornton was promoted to the Medford office several months after the incident and served in that post until his retirement. When Lindman contacted him in the mid-90s, the newsman said that Thornton felt the operation had been an overall success and had been converted into a public relations disaster by hostile media reports. So he was promoted to the Medford office. Currently, Oregon State Parks Department policy is to bury whale carcasses where they land. If the sand is not deep enough, they are relocated to another beach. Well, why would you take them to another beach? Why not tow them suckers out into the ocean and let the fish eat them? So, Dave Barry. David McAllister Barry is an American author and columnist who wrote a nationally syndicated humor column for the Miami Herald from 1983 to 2005. He has also written numerous books of humor and parody, as well as comic novels and children's novels. So he brought this back to attention in 1990 with a story that he wrote in the Miami Herald and reported that he possessed footages of the event. Here at the Institute, we watch it often, especially at parties. And then the Oregon State Highway Division started to receive calls from the media after a shortened version of the article was distributed on bulletin boards under the title, "The Far Side Comes to Life in Oregon." It said the article did not explain that the event had happened approximately 25 years earlier. So he left out the time frame. So they were probably thinking, yeah, that it happened recently. Some chunks. Come be a big money beach like LA. Could be a big money beach like LA. All about the money. So here's just a side note. There was another whale explosion occurred January 29, 2004 in Tainan City, Taiwan. This time the explosion resulted from the buildup of gases inside a decomposing sperm whale, which caused it to burst. The cause of the phenomenon was initially unknown since it occurred in the spinal area of the whale, not in its abdomen as might be expected. Why would I expect it to be anyplace else but the spine? I don't know. It was later determined that the whale had most likely been struck by a large shipping vessel, damaging its spine and weakening the area, leading to its death. The whale died after beaching on the southwest coast of Taiwan, and it took 3 large cranes and 50 workers more than 13 hours to shift the whale onto the back of a truck. Taiwan News reported that while the whale was being moved, a large crowd of more than 600 local Yunnan residents and curiosity seekers, along with vendors selling snack food and hot drinks, braved the cold temperature and chilly wind to watch the workmen try to haul away the dead marine leviathan. Professor Wang Chenping had ordered the whale be moved to Sisato Wildlife Reserve area after he had been refused permission to perform a necropsy at the National Ching Kung University in Taiwan. When it burst, the whale carcass was on the back of a truck near the center of Taiwan en route from the university laboratory to the preserve. The bursting whale splattered blood and entrails over surrounding shop fronts, bystanders, and cars. The explosion did not, however, cause injuries or prevent researchers from performing the necropsy on the animal. So let that be a lesson to you, gentlemen. If you ever have an opportunity to watch a whale be moved through the city, don't go. Don't go. Run away. Run very, very far away in the opposite direction. So, 1970. Wild times, buddy. Wild times were had by all in Florence, Oregon. A half a ton of dynamite. I have never messed with dynamite. I don't know what one stick would do. I just know its reputation. And I can't believe that they took a half a ton of dynamite to try to blow up the whale. I mean, I guess, man. I don't know. It just seems like they'd have waited, like I said, waited till high tide and tried to drag it out to the ocean where everything goes to die. So I don't know. I just don't know. Anyway, that was the little humor that I had for my story. We used to buy it at the local co-op to build roads on the farm. Really? You just go out and buy dynamite? Man, that's crazy. Did he use blasting caps? Or did you have to light a wick on it? I'm going to assume blasting caps because I think they went. Yeah, electric caps. Okay. Yeah. Huh. I mean, I haven't had no need to build roads or dynamite anything, you know, when I was a young man growing up. So dynamite was always stuff that, you know, everybody else used to build roads in their farms, blow up cattle, dead cows. That would be a good experiment. How much of a stick of dynamite could you use to blow up a big old heifer that died during calf birth or something? Try to blow it into smithereens so the crows could come by and eat it. Oh well. So I think that's going to be it. It's probably going to be one of the shortest shows on record. It's at 39 minutes right now. And we'll tune in next, what is that, Thursday. Oh, another Monday's come and gone. We made it through. Woo! Congrats to us. So next Thursday, don't know what we'll be talking about. Could be almost anything. Or a bloated deer. I took that deer that I had and pulled it into the woods with the strap with my tractor. But luckily, I mean, it was starting to expand, but it hasn't. You know, the skin and everything was still really on it. Speaking of deer, between where White Top comes into 394, go down to the bridge on the going towards the Bluntful side. I don't know what direction it would be. I saw a spike laying alongside the road right there. Probably spikes are on it probably 4 or 5 inches. You could see it from the road. I bet you somebody. When did I see that? That was yesterday. I come out of White Top and went down that way, and you've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of deer alongside the road lately, the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I noticed he was laying there, and of course, you know, when he's laying on the side, I couldn't see if he's, you know, one was broke or anything like that, but they were sticking up. Got to run down there and cut his, get you a trophy, cut his head off, make you a trophy deer. He shouldn't be too rotten by now. And if it is too rotten, then you could just like bury it in the ground for a couple of weeks and dig it up, and you could have a nice deer skull with antlers and the teeth and jaw and everything. But that one deer I had, I drug it into the woods and went back and checked on it, and it's kind of wild the way it just goes away basically. And it was laid out pretty much the same way that I laid it there until one day I went down there and it still had skin and some meat and stuff on it, you know, so bigger scavengers were coming, but something had grabbed like the hind leg and drug part of the hind leg and the hip, the pelvis off to one side about 4 or 5 feet away. So then it started, after that, the bones started getting scattered up, and, you know, they tried to, you know, pull it and the skin holds together for a little while and it drags the bones off and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it finally went down, and ash to ashes, dust to dust, and got rid of it. But anyway, I appreciate you guys coming. And if you didn't watch it live and you're watching it on YouTube or podcast or however you're viewing it, listening to it right now, I appreciate you doing that. And like, subscribe, leave me comments. As always, I appreciate you coming. See you now. Bye. Bye.